Welcome back, guys. This is the What Really Matters podcast, episode 10. So Terrence and I have some special guests here today. And Terrence, go ahead and kick us off.
Okay. Thank you for coming and joining us. This is Rick O'Keefe, and this is Matt Black. So we know each other from tennis and pickleball. So Rick, I've known Rick for a long time from tennis. He beat me all the time.
Once.
I've not won a match against you.
Well, I'm like 1-0.
I really not won a match against you.
Maybe doubles. I don't know.
Yeah. So Matt is Chris's pickleball partner.
Yeah.
We need to qualify that, right? There's different kinds of partners.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification. For my sake.
Yeah. Thank you, Terrence. Yeah, appreciate it.
They're pickleball partners, and so Matt was one of the one who lost to us during the championship.
Oh.
I'm sorry to say that.
That hurts.
Yeah. There's different ways of thinking about winning or losing.
Oh, that's right.
So
That's right. Yeah.
what might have been lost was a win.
Yeah,
in my book.
it was a learning.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience for you.
Yeah.
Is it just
So
Matt?
anyway.
Or was it Matt and Chris?
It was both of us.
Both of
Oh,
us.
it was.
Yeah, but-
gosh.
Close match.
Yeah.
Close match.
Yeah. So next time we'll set up a match, him and me against you too. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Rick, why don't you introduce yourself to the
Okay.
audience?
My name is Rick O'Keefe, and like Terrence said, we met through tennis, and I met these two guys a few months ago.
Yeah,
Maybe
4 months?
December. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, January, because we just became members, up there. So
That's right. That's right.
So got to know them, and I think we had dinner once, maybe, and
Chipotle.
getting to know them, more and more as we go.
Nice. Well, I'm Matthew. I'm Chris's partner, pickleball partner. Thank you, Terrence. But I've known Chris for a long time. We started back in right after college, even though I knew him in elementary school. But one thing was Chris invited me to get coffee one time, and we sat down. And back then, I know this is the podcast about what really matters, but back then we were going through the concepts of life, of like your flywheels and what are your rocks. Some people call it the big rocks. And so I remember meeting with Chris then, because I wrote in a journal, and I looked back at it the other day and said, man, this guy's going to be a millionaire by the time he's 30. And I'm not going to say if you are or not for the podcast, but you have definitely, pursued those things, but you've also pursued things like, what really matters. So, who am I? Well, I'm here to I'm excited to learn from both of you guys. And Dr. Terrence, I've met a lot of people recently.
Dr. Terrence.
Terrence.
Are you sick right now? You need help?
Taco, But you've met a lot of people that have helped a lot of people in my life, that apparently. So
thank you.
Excited to learn more about that.
Awesome. Yeah, so the purpose, obviously, of having you guys is really to dive into what really matters. And Terrence and I have been going back and forth for 9 episodes about what do we think really matters, right? And we thought it would be useful to bring outside parties in to share what really matters for them. And I'm happy to share all of the what really matters stuff with you guys, but also would love to hear from you guys. We thought it'd be good to have real people that's not us. Really, because at the end of the day, like, we're all human. We all have human challenges. We have good days, we have bad days, we have situations we go through. Sometimes we tell people, sometimes we don't. And the beauty of the podcast, of sharing about what really matters, is we can connect with other people that are not us. And that's the beauty, at least that we've found, is we've had tremendous feedback from people to share, the maybe a challenge they were going through, and we were able to help and whatever we were talking about. And so we thought it would be great to have other people on to share what really matters for them, because we think it can help other people. So,
and also, what matters to us may not be the same as what matters to you. So,
true.
There's all different perspectives, and so it's nice to hear from you guys. And I'm sure you have your own life experiences that you can share with us and share with the audience. So we all grow and learn from each other. Iron sharpens iron.
So what really matters from the first 9 episodes?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, what really matters is I think always being a learner in life, because life is notoriously challenging. It's always changing. So to have a mentality of learning all the time is a beautiful thing, because we're always encountering new situations. So to start with learning being the foundation, and then from there, I think it goes to who are you surrounding yourself with? What kind of help do you receive? How do you interact with people? You know, what impressions do you leave on people? We talked a good bit about like the distinction between like taking care of yourself and taking care of other people, and like when do you serve versus when do you take care of you? And so that's been a great I guess growth for me, is like serving until I find that I think I'm at my wit's end, and then I'm ready to take care of me, and then it's just a rinse and repeat cycle. It's like a dance. And so that I found that really matters a lot to me. Found more service orientation in my heart since we've been doing the What Really Matters podcast. So thank you for that. And that's contributed to like the philosophy with which I live my life. And so that's I guess the beauty, or like a transformation of doing a podcast. So I would say that that's a good foundation for what really matters to me.
I guess the background of this is the background of this idea, or even the title of the show, is because I've realized I'm probably the oldest in this group, right? Am I? I'm 56.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm 57.
So I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest guy. I'm the oldest person in this group, and the main motivation for doing a podcast about this topic is that nothing in this world satisfies me.
Okay.
So you can give me more money, it's not gonna make me happier.
Yeah.
You give me more awards, it's not gonna make me happier. You make me win one more pickleball match, it's not gonna make me happier. You make me win one more tennis match against him, it'll make me happier.
But it's small.
Yeah.
But for real though, all these joys are very transient.
Yeah.
You know, I may, if I beat you guys one match, I get a thrill at that moment, and then 5 minutes later, it means nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I've accumulated trophies and medals all my years, but they're sitting there in one corner gathering dust. I look at them, it doesn't give me any thrill anymore. You know, and when I was a professor, I wrote scientific papers, published them. It used to be when I published one paper, it's like such a big deal, and then I can put on my resume, I published all these papers. But those papers are irrelevant after 2 years. Nobody cares anymore what I did. So nothing satisfied. So I've always been searching the past 5 to 6 years, or maybe the past 10 years. I've been searching for meaning in life and purpose in life. And so that's when I started, you know, getting into writing and pondering about life. But really, it was after my daughter's illness, 2012, that really changed me. So that was the life-changing moment in my life, you know. And we all have these life-changing moments that your life turns around and you suddenly realize, hey, I need to make something out of my life more than just making money and being successful, gathering awards. So share with us what's important for you guys, what satisfies you, what do you stand for, you know, what you want to be remembered for. You want to start, or?
Yeah. I mean, and you said a lot of things that like evoke some strong memories, I guess. And you know, I've had some similar like feelings just in my young life of like, I remember kind of journaling about like I had this like really, I had some early success in my career, and I remember saying like, yeah, man, like throw me in the fire pit, like give me all the stress, like give me pressure, like, dude, I'm gonna do well. I'm gonna crush it. Just whatever that moment is, just put me in that dance, and I'm gonna do good. And you know, kind of that first feeling of like a triumph or whatever in career, and then immediately after going, man, but you know, give me like a rainy trail, hiking up a mountain, like give me that as like actually the shoes that I kind of want to feel, you know. And I had this like thing where I immediately hit this like life milestone, and then I got in a car and I just drove out west, and then I did the millennial thing where I went hiking some 14ers and 14,000 foot mountains, you know, and then it was just like, man, like you can give me all these like life things, but really where I felt like peace is, you know, on that trail hiking with the rain, sort of fighting this accomplishment of being close to the sky, you know, and doing those things. And I know you guys are spiritual, but they say like, you know, the Lord puts beauty like for you to be closer to like His presence and to be closer to heaven. And so I started then thinking, like, you know, wow, like I've already just felt like I achieved some success, and then now I feel like my successful day is actually like, man, did I see the sunrise? Did I see the sunset on the same day? Like that's success. Like, did I put myself closer? And then what happens with like your life is like now you're walking through with this like totally different like lens of what kind of matters and what doesn't. And then you see all these people, and it's kind of helped shape what I want to like, how I want to serve people, which is a kind of like shake them and almost like give them like the Matrix, like red pill or blue pill, to be like, hey, there's this other like life out there that you could see, but you're going to be trapped with your own sort of like views of maybe what you think success is or what success wants to be. I moved down to Dallas at one point, and I was working in a corporate environment, and I saw all these young people that were really successful and really good at what they do, but man, they were just like so stressed out all the time about this will, and I just wanted to like shake them and go, man, there's this like other world out there, even just how you're living, that you just need to kind of pursue, you know, or shake. So what you said kind of hit there about the like not those things not being fulfilled. So if I can kind of help that, then that would be one of the things I feel like I stand for there.
So what would satisfy you in life? What's that one thing that would make you, like at the end of the day or at the end of your life, you would say, I lived a good life? What would make you say that?
Man, it's funny because I feel like I'm in like a transition life, right? Like part of my life right now. But there are certain things that you can put yourself or someone anywhere, and you know, maybe some of the external things are different. Like I used to love traveling. I don't do that as much, and I would say, man, my successful life was like all kind of a little bit more material. Was I traveling a lot? Did I get to hit these amount of places or whatever? But it's really like there's a saying that says like you get most pissed off at people whenever they have a trait. Like if you get really pissed off at someone, then that usually means that trait is most valuable to you. And so what I'm learning by being upset with people about myself is that like I really feel like sticking to your word is really important. And so that has nothing to do with a traveling goal or like a material goal, but like my wife was telling me that whenever when I'm most upset during the day or during the week is whenever I said I was going to do something and I didn't do it. And me and Chris talk about that a lot, and that's actually an area I probably need to work on, with more grace there. But it's something where like at the end of the day, do I feel fulfilled? Well, it'll be just, did I do what I said I was going to do? And that means a lot. But the hard part, which is what some of your hard questions are, is like, well, what is that thing you want to do sometimes, or what is that thing you want to put your word on? But if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I don't, then and if I do, then I'll feel like life was successful, you know.
So so I'm gonna keep.
You know, Rick's here too. You know.
No, I know, but let's finish with you first, since we're in that story. So if you were in your deathbed.
Yeah.
And you have, if God tells you, okay, you have 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
And your time is up.
Yeah.
And so you sit there and you ponder. You know you have 5 minutes left, so you can't help but ponder about the life that you lived.
Yeah.
What matters to you at that moment? What would make you say, I had a good life. I lived a good life.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like sometimes the best answer is the one you don't think about. And the one I'm not thinking about is like, did you have an impact on others, like kind of leaving them better than where you found them? Me and Kris talked a lot about, but there's been some successes that I've collected on the wall that through work and career and things like that, where like it wasn't a financial thing, but it was like I was aware, and I talking about going back to that lens again. Like, did I have that lens in life, and then was I aware, and then did I act on that awareness? So, for example, we were working together years ago. I noticed this girl in an office crying, and she's surrounded.
You made me nervous after a while.
No, yeah. Well, we talked a lot about
Your
this.
wife's listening.
Yeah, well, she was crying, and there were like 20 people around, and I'm like, Kris, no one's talking to her like right now. Like, she's upset, and I was like that was like when I was like prime in the middle of like handling all these projects, and I'm just going, and I see her crying, and I stopped and I said, hey, like, you okay? Like, it's just weird that no one's talking to you right now. And she goes, well, I just found out my best friend had passed away. So, and I was like, well, hey, let's go take a cigarette break. And so we went and walked out, and we talked, and she told me about it, and kept going. And then later, and I was like, all right, well, look, don't worry about anything I'm working on, but later that day, if you ever want to talk about anything, just hit me up, and I'll go sneak out and take a break, and go do that. She didn't, but it felt good in the moment. But then I do believe that like you kind of have to like win in the follow up, and that's where you really have an impact. So, a week later, I texted her and I said, hey, I just want to check in. Like, are you doing okay? Do you need anything? And she sent me the longest text back that said, I can't tell you, like, you're the only one that talked to me that day, that asked me how I was doing. Like, that meant a lot, And so it was like, I felt like that was like a bigger win than anything else work-wise, but it surprised me because I wasn't expecting to have that same sort of gratification when I was chasing these other pursuits, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
If I'm on my deathbed and I've got a few of those trophies on the wall, then maybe I've left the place a little bit better than I came into it,
So that's your trophy, right? That helping that girl in the office, that's one of your trophies. That you would savor at the last 5 minutes of your life here on Earth, right?
Yeah, because I do, like, I get really excited by seeing, and that's why I like being around you guys. Well, maybe you not as much, but I'm kidding. But you guys are like willing to pursue hard things, and life is hard, and so to see people pursue hard things and kind of come to the other side of it really gives me energy and inspires me. And so if I have helped a few of those people kind of pursue something hard or go through something hard, I've talked a lot. I've had a really good friend commit suicide over the last year. I saw the LSU football player this weekend that did it, and it kind of has been something that's been on my mind a lot lately about just like what really matters, in life, and so helping people get through those hard times really matters,
Because I think the age difference that I brought up. I'm proud to be 56. Okay.
How old are you guys?
30.
30. 33.
How about you?
53.
Okay, so we look pretty good for 50s.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So,
You guys are awesome.
no, but
We're not buff though, like they
yeah.
are.
Oh, we are. Yeah. it's how you look at things.
It's the black shirt.
It's the black
shirt. It's the color. Yeah.
No, so what I'm saying is, from what I'm hearing you say, is that so initially you said that it matters a lot to you that you say you're gonna do something and you make sure you do it, and so when you feel awful at the end of the day, it's because you didn't do something that you said you were gonna do.
Right.
But when you have 5 minutes left, that's not probably what's gonna be in your head. Like how many promises you said you're gonna do and you did, right?
Yeah.
The trophies that you're holding on to will be the moments where your friend was about to commit suicide, and the girl in the office, right? Those are the trophies.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, those sounds like they matter more to you than fulfilling what you say you're gonna do, right?
Well, they're both the same to disagree with you, they're correlated. When you spend time to I encourage anybody to spend time to reflect and ask yourself kind of those questions. And I know you guys are doing that here about what really matters to you. But to have a successful life, it's like you either have intentions for your life or someone else has intentions for your life, and you get to kind of decide like which life that is. Are you going to live the way that someone else has a vision for you, or are you going to live life your own vision? And so doing what I say I'm going to do and seeing those things to collect the trophy to make things better are both the same, because one of the things that I want to be intentional on is to live life, be aware, live life, and see, to be able to walk in a place and be able to be aware and not be so distracted by my ego or my goals that I'm trying to do. There's probably tons of moments where I've missed things like that, but I've tried to like have a pattern, and I'm not always great at it, but there's some days where I try to tell myself and I reinforce that, like, hey, I want to this week have a good vision. I want to be intentional. I pray for awareness so that way I can catch those things. And so in that regard, then they are the same thing, because I am now hopefully acting in a way that is living up to my word by collecting those trophies. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, the trophies, y'all both brought up trophies, but I guess with the physical or visual ones you see like on your wall at work or in your office of your tennis or pickleball, that those are visual. And then the ones that you do, like with the girl at work or someone you help, I helped a lady today at UAMS get up that was going to do an MRI, and she was pushing a buggy. But so you have I helped her. So what my point is that so you have your mental trophies in your head that you do for other people, or that you do for somebody that needs it, and then you have the visual ones that I have some still up. You have yours in the corner, but and you probably have. I'm sure you all have in your office, or you've got stuff that's visual and mental. That
I have a trophy wife.
There you go.
No, I'm just kidding. No. That's
I'm
a joke. Joke. That's a joke.
I'm getting one.
I get in trouble here.
Well, no, that's.
Okay.
She'd love to hear that. She's going to hear it, right? But I think it's cool that you. I don't know if it's compartmentalize.
Yeah.
That's a tough word. If that you can distinguish what's on the wall and what's in your heart, or what's in your mind, of what you've done before, or what you continue to do to help people.
So Rick, you have a very compelling story. Are you okay to share that with us?
Sure.
Okay, so you.
How should I start, or you want to preempt it, or
No, you want me to give an introduction?
Sure.
I don't want to invade into your privacy.
I don't know how much you know, though.
I don't know very much.
But go ahead.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want the world to know. Whatever you want to share, but I don't want to preempt and say stuff that I'm not supposed to say.
I guess we'll see, huh?
Okay.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, so Rick, I really, like I said, I don't know Rick very well. From a personal level, I just started to get to know this guy, this awesome guy. He's a very inspiring guy. So, so we play tennis a lot, and like I said, I've never won a match against him. And
we haven't played that often, but go ahead.
Yeah, we played some. But anyway, so I played at the Conway tournament, and then I saw you were playing with your left hand, and I go, what is going on? Right? Conway, we were Conway. Yeah. That day I played 5 matches in one day, and I was feeling sorry for myself. And then I saw you there, and he was serving with his left arm.
Okay.
So I was with my friend Imran. So I said Imran, what's going on there? And then Imran told me the story. And so that's when I found out you had some health issues, and he's a right-hander, and he learned how to play with his left hand because he's trying to cope with the medical issues. So I'll let you go from there. And so I was very inspired by your story, not only because you learn how to play with your left hand. That's awesome to begin with, and you play tournaments despite everything else, but this guy does not complain about anything. Mm-hmm. He does not complain about anything. I complain about I hurt my knee last week
Yep.
playing pickleball,
Yep.
and
Friday night.
I was trying to baby my knee, and this guy has worse than what I had. So anyway, Rick, why don't you share with us what you are willing to share with us? So.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of how much. Anyways, in July of, or actually May of 23, playing tennis, I reached out to hit a backhand, and my collarbone, clavicle snapped, and 6 weeks later we found out that it was cancer through a biopsy of the clavicle, and then a scan of the rest of the body, and I have stage 4, to sound like a doctor, metastatic renal cell carcinoma, which kidney cancer that has spread to another part of my body.
Okay.
So we did the scan, and it revealed I had a tumor roughly the size of a racquetball in my horseshoe kidney, which a horseshoe kidney is one kidney. Most people have two.
Okay.
I would have a horseshoe kidney, and technically, when you're developing in the womb, the kidneys are supposed to separate and move up to where they're supposed to be in your body. And with the horseshoe kidney, they don't separate. So I had one kidney, and we didn't find out. I didn't have any
Issues or
symptoms
anything,
or
sure,
blood in the urine or anything. Blood in the feces or whatever.
So you never knew you had a
we
horseshoe.
didn't know. We had no idea till the biopsy of this that set up the scan of the body. And so it revealed that tumor. But luckily, it was come to find out it was in the middle of the horseshoe, like kind of like they shared the cancer that connected them, and they did. And after let's see. I guess we'll just fast forward to roughly a year and a half later. We got the tumor shrank enough to operate. So
you underwent chemo.
So I did chemo for a year and a half. I did chemo pills. I did 2 different ones, Cabomedics and Wellerig, that were just oral, nothing, no radiation or anything yet. So I did that for a year and a half, and then this January, maybe late December, we had a couple surgeons here in Arkansas that said they would, it's small enough. It got down to about a golf ball size, and we found a couple surgeons here that would do it, but they didn't have any experience with a horseshoe kidney with cancer or without. They didn't have any surgeries with the horseshoe kidney. So thanks to Ellie, who might be here somewhere. She's right here. Just kidding.
She's in the audience.
Yeah, my fiance. She Googled, kidney doctor that's operated on a horseshoe kidney, and she found 2 people or 2 doctors that she was looking up. She called somebody in New York, and then called a doctor in Philadelphia at Temple Medical, Dr. Oon. It's just unbelievable how we got in. She got through to his administrative assistant, and then we talked to him, and 4 days later talked to him on a Zoom call. Both fell in love with him, and got a surgery date set, got my medical records to him. We canceled another trip we had to another state to visit another doctor that would operate, that had done horseshoe kidneys, but we just fell in love with Dr. Oon, and like another 4 days later, we probably not 4 days, maybe 10 days later, we went to Philly and had surgery, and just unbelievable. I mean, just the experience, the people we met, the doctors, the nurses. It was like I'm telling people now, it was like living a movie. It really, and it still is. Everything was just perfect, and I'm telling everybody it was my favorite vacation ever. It was. We were in Philly from, I think, Tuesday to a Monday, and everything just. We met people to play tennis at at Brown University, you know, an Ivy League school, and we played with a couple students, and just the numbers we saw in like operating room. You know,
That was before your surgery, right?
the day before. Yeah, I mean, we had one day to play, and we didn't bring anything to play, and besides tennis shoes, and
Yeah,
we
but
met these
this
guys.
guy played tennis
The day
every
before,
single day.
every single
The
day.
week before he went
Oh,
to
I played,
Philly,
yeah, like
we played a team tennis match, and he played 2 other matches, and he went bull riding or something, right?
no,
Something like that.
not right. No, we went and watched them.
Oh,
Well, we
watch.
didn't actually go because
Oh, he didn't actually rod them.
no.
Oh man, that's
Okay. No, I thought you went bull riding. I was telling people he went bull riding.
Well, we could go with
Sounds
that.
pretty cool.
We could go with
Okay.
that. The rodeo or the
Yeah, the
PBR
rodeo,
came to.
PBR.
Oh, so you just watched. Okay.
So-
but regardless, he played tennis like 4 days that week or 5 days that week.
but I'm back to right-handed. So when I went through the chemo and all that, the clavicle was broken and I couldn't play. So
And
instead
he
of
played with his
sitting out,
left.
sitting out a year, you know,
just learned to play with you.
I hit with my fiance and I just said, hey, I can do this. So we just kept practicing, and then, you know, Dr. Aloya,
Yeah.
Julio,
Oh, yeah.
we hit once a week, and he's a lefty too, so we just kind of learned from him, and we went from there, and we just did it every week, and we practiced together, and
Yeah,
but
not
now I'm
only
back
did-
to right-handed.
Not only
But
did
not-
you hit with your left hand, but you were undergoing chemo and you
Yeah.
were still
Playing on
living life. And
Yeah, because you
and-
can't sit around and mope.
Mm.
You can't sit on the couch. You got to stay active. You got to get out there, and you got to, you know, have faith, hope, and but you got to do it yourself. You can't just sit there and do nothing. You got to go out and play and keep your mind off stuff.
I think that's
Yeah.
inspiring because I think a lot of people have a contrary mindset to that circumstance.
The C word, yeah.
Yeah, and many people may be in a similar circumstance and not know what to do, but you know, just from listening to Terrence, and I haven't heard your story until now,
Right.
but just the I don't know, just the hope that you've given, just even Terrence, and like
Oh, I know,
Terrence
I
not
know,
even going,
yeah.
you know what I mean, like.
But it opens your eyes. I mean,
Yeah, it's just like it just adds this lens of perspective to your life where you're like, dang, I thought I was having a bad day about whatever very minuscule situation that I have, and I'm like, Rick's out here, never heard of Pete, by the way, didn't know any of this, and you're out there like whooping butt and pickleball and tennis, and you know what I mean. And so it's just like there's tremendous value in seeing that perspective, because that then has me say, hey man, let's rethink our situation here.
right.
Like maybe you don't you have a life that you can go live, and you don't have to wait on being in a situation where you're like forced to act. Like go ahead and have that ambition and drive and love of life like now. Like what are we waiting on? Because by the way, like as you age, your biology breaks down. Like that's just humans,
Yeah.
you know. And
Can't
so
help
it's like
that.
coping with that is very, is difficult. And so it's like, while I have the gumption and the age and the youth, let's go do it. And so that's been very inspiring for me, and I thank you. Like, man, really appreciate it.
So how rare is a horseshoe kidney?
I mean, it's not like
Not like rare.
4%. I don't really.
we can ask
know.
Rob.
That's correct. Yeah.
Google it. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, but it's not only that. I mean, several things to point out there. Your story inspired me. Number one, you continue to live life despite the card that you were dealt with, and that's amazing, because a lot of people spend so much time complaining about what they lost and what they don't have, instead of just being thankful for what they have and making the most out of what they have. So that's one glaring lesson from what you just shared with us. And number two, what struck me most is your courage. I mean, obviously your faith is amazing there, but your courage, your courage to be able to keep playing and living your life despite the pain. I know you're in pain every day, right? We talked about that. You're in pain every day, but I never once heard out of your mouth that you had pain until I was talking about my pain, and then we were talking about the chiropractor and massage therapist, and then you said, "Oh, I'm in pain every day. It's no big deal." So that's when I found out.
Used to it,
No, because I was talking to Ellie, your fiance, about the chiropractor Darren Beaver's my favorite chiropractor, and we were talking about that because Ellie was asking me who I use for chiropractor. Right. So then we were talking about chiropractic, and then I said, "Oh, I have a massage therapist. I have a chiropractor." I feel like a prima donna. And then your fiance was trying to get you to see the chiropractor. And she said, "I don't worry about that. I'm in pain every day anyway. It doesn't matter." So that's when I found out he has pain. So despite your pain, the courage to even go out there to the tennis court and play 4 or 5 days a week.
You don't feel the pain out there.
Yeah, I know, but that's the same way. So you actually inspired me so much that when I injured my knee last Thursday, I played on Friday, and when my wife got upset, I said, "Well, Rick is playing." But then
you shouldn't have played.
I wanted to play on Sunday. Yeah, you were trying to stop me from playing, but I'm trying to be like you, and then you trying to stop me from being like you. And then my wife stopped me from playing on Sunday. But anyway, so my question, I'm curious now is, how has this changed your life? I mean, what were you like before the diagnosis, and what are you like after the diagnosis? How has this changed your life and how you view life?
I was going to say I was bitter, but I don't think I really ever was. I mean, I never thought, why me? I just thought, why not me? I mean, but it's like when the first, he wasn't an oncologist, the first orthopedic guy that saw my shoulder, he said the C word. And I'm like, I didn't know. I asked him what the C word was, and he said cancer. And I was like, didn't even enter my mind. It really didn't. But I knew it was something different. If y'all broken a bone before, you can kind of know how it feels like it's dead and that. But this just felt like something. I knew something was wrong. But I had no idea where I'm going with that.
But how it's changed? Yeah. How has it changed before and after your life?
No, what was your life before the cancer? So if we were to be introduced to you, who was Rick before the cancer, and who is Rick now after the cancer?
I don't think I've changed much, or I don't think it's just maybe empathizing with people more, like people that are suffering. I can kind of like the lady I helped today. I had a scan today that was very, very well, or very good news on my scan today. I mean, I've already got I've got partial results that says it's not in the kidney anymore because I had the surgery. But like I wanted to help that lady today because she doesn't know what I'm going through. I don't know what she's going through. I didn't ask her what was wrong with her leg, or anything. It's just she's in need, and you need to, whether it's that or, holding the door for somebody. I mean, smiling at people. I mean, you just smile at me. You don't get that a lot.
Right.
You're at, Walmart or at Kroger, you just see somebody in the aisle. Doesn't matter if they're, white, black, Asian, not as good looking as Kris, I mean, but, you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And you just help whoever they are, whatever they look like, and that's kind of maybe enlightened me. I don't know. I feel like it's glow. I mean, people, it's people say it all the time that, you're more enlightened, but with my case, it's true. I want to talk to people more. I want to, like strangers. I talked to this lady at the car wash the other day for, I'd say 30 minutes. And I asked her about her car, and she said, well, go look in it. So she's opening the door. It's a complete stranger. I'm in Zips, and I'm like, I would not have struck up that conversation. I know I wouldn't have.
So what made you?
I don't know. Maybe God might, and talking to other people. I'm just, because nobody communicates anymore.
Right.
Or smiles or eye contact. Like back to the Walmart thing. You're pushing your cart, oh yeah, see, people do that all the time. And I think it's made me realize that smile, talk
goes a long way.
It really does. And I think that maybe that's what changed me. And another thing, just trying to beat this cancer. It's tough, but it's not that tough. I mean,
It is tough.
I know, but just do what the doctors say. Go to don't miss any, doctor's appointments. I don't know. It's just do what you're told.
Have you become more forgiving or more tolerant of other people?
I don't know about that. I don't know. No, I don't know. I haven't thought about it, but I don't know. It's been a great.
But we don't know who you were before. That's why it's hard for us to get an
I don't
idea.
think I've changed a lot. I don't know. People might say I have, but
So what?
I just see things more. I don't know.
So what do people say about you? What do people say about how you've changed?
Well, like you said, it's gives people hope. Or if I can convince one person to not sit on the couch and mope that you got cancer and get out and do stuff, socialize, play sports. I'm just lucky I was in shape. And I think some of that has something to do with beating cancer or fighting cancer, and the attitude, the faith, the hope, and just got to keep plugging away. And
Have you always played sports like tennis?
yeah, I mean, I grew up,
This is the
soccer,
Rick O'Keefe.
baseball. I played.
Big time athlete.
No, but I played. I played.
Come on, don't be too humble.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Share-
No, I'm not.
share with
Be
us,
honest.
Rick.
Yeah.
Tell.
Well, no.
We're okay. We're just a bunch of guys.
No, I know. I'm not that good. I mean, I'm really not. I'd be pro, right?
Yeah. You
But,
played baseball, right?
I grew up playing baseball and soccer, and I played tennis, juniors, and then I quit for about 30 years before I got back to playing structured tennis. And
That's why you keep beating me.
Yeah.
What brought you back to structured tennis versus just casual play?
I used to play at Rebsamen, and I didn't know that this whole big tennis world was out there, like the adult tournaments and everything, leagues and all. I had no idea that it was there. I was shocked, really. But I just had a guy that said get on somebody's team, and my first team was with you
Oh, really?
in 2016.
Oh, I see. This guy keeps a journal.
Angelo.
This guy keeps
That
a
was May
journal.
25th.
He keeps a journal of all his matches.
Well, I do
you
now.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
on my
That's
phone.
amazing.
Yeah, we actually.
Pickleball, too.
Yeah.
Not pickleball scores, but tennis scores. Pickleball, I do wins or losses.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'll tell you the story. We had lunch after a pickleball match with Imran.
With Imran, Ellie, and
Right. So,
and Ron.
so then I was saying, yeah, this guy always beats me, and I said, yeah, there was this match at Burns Park in that
Stadium court.
the stadium court,
yeah.
where he beat me really bad, like 6-1, 6-2, and he said, oh, let me look at my phone. So he pulled up his notes and said, oh yeah, that's when I beat you.
He kept the receipt.
Yeah, he kept the receipt for that that beat down. So
And what's your intention with tracking that? Is that just progress? Is that like moments?
trophies.
No, I don't know. But I mean, a friend of mine, he started playing, I guess June. Well, not started playing, but got really into it. He that's a long. I've got so many long stories. But bottom line is, he met a girl, and
Always starts with that.
yeah, he met a girl,
Good stories always
and
start,
so
yeah.
I wanted to know when they met, and I could have the exact day they
I
met.
see, yeah.
So in my mind, I know when they met. It was during tennis or pickleball, and so I knew when to look back, and I could say that, hey, that your first, not date, but your first meeting was June, whatever it was. So, but that's not why I do it. It just it's cool to look back and see stuff. Like I'll put like when we played you guys, I put in pickleball.
Oh,
No.
Yeah.
There's probably scores, but it'd be like we beat y'all like 4-1, or it wouldn't be like.
So what
it
else
wouldn't
did
be
you
like the
write?
scores of the game.
What else did you write about the
Yeah,
pickleball
wins and
match?
losses.
I'm
But
curious.
we went to
Can you pull it up?
Chipotle. We
Yes.
went to
Oh,
Chipotle
yeah,
with
yeah.
Gail and Rob and Ellie
Yeah.
and us two, and,
That's right.
and we talked, and
We're-
it's
we're-
just stuff like that it's like you can. So if I like what restaurant did we go to?
Yeah.
I can look back and say, I met y'all in December or
that's
January,
right.
and I can
Chipotle.
look back and just find it. So it's fun. It's
We're
What did
all
you say about the
surprised that
match?
I don't know.
Let's
Y'all
see.
talk about something else. I'll try to find it.
I was gonna say, were you surprised that we showed up to Chipotle after
No,
that?
I was. Well,
Yeah.
wait, that was
Yeah,
the
you
night
were
we
just-
met y'all.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the young kids, we'll
Yeah.
invite
Young
them to come
kids.
out
Yeah,
with,
that's
the,
right.
with the old farts and eat with us,
Yeah.
And y'all did, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because we're.
Oh, we wanted to.
Yeah, yeah.
We were actually
So we-
enthusiastic about it.
So that was cool. So that's when we first really actually met. You know.
Well, something you said earlier that I really appreciated, and something that's been like heavy on my heart, has been reaching out and speaking to people. It's like, you never know what people are going through, and I think this is just my personal belief, is that God puts these I don't know, these like urges on us to reach out to people. And for me, it's been like minding that. When I feel that, do it. And I found that that's been very helpful in just engaging with people, because you never know what people are going through until you engage with them. And so had I just said, I'll get to that later, I might not actually get to that later. And then I might have missed an opportunity to connect with someone who they may have been going through something, they needed me. But I don't know, like we don't know these answers. It's just like you act on those urges. But I think reaching out and touching people with your language and just saying, hey, I care how you're doing. Like, it doesn't have to be anything more than that. It's just like, how are you? Like, is everything okay? Like, anything you want to talk about?
Acknowledging.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, if not, that's totally fine. Like, hope you have a great day. Or just a smile. Hey, how are you?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think like just that energy about that, just reaching out to people is something we need more of. So that's been heavy on my heart. So thank you for that.
Did you find the entry?
Oh, let's see.
We just got to know if we won or lost that day.
Yeah, I can't remember. I thought we were pretty competitive that
We
day.
were, but they had a little dinking game going. I remember that.
Yeah, what really
Hey,
matters.
you beat me. Remember when Gary and I played you and Terence?
And Imran.
Who did I say?
No.
Terrence.
You said
You and
Imran
Terrence.
and Terrence.
me and Imran beat you and Gary. But it's Gary's fault, not yours.
That was January 12th, court 14 and 12.
What
'cause
was
we had
the
to switch
score?
courts.
That's what really
It's
matters.
okay.
the
I was
score.
gonna say we better
3-6.
not start keeping track.
I'm sorry. Yes. No. Let me just say my score because I lost.
Okay.
3-6, 6-4, 5-7.
Okay.
So we played 3 full sets.
So we won the tie break.
No, you won the whole set.
Huh?
You won the whole set.
We lost the second set.
Yeah, but you won 2 out of 3 full sets.
Oh.
We didn't play a tie. Tiebreakers.
It's okay. It was Gary's fault.
I hate tiebreakers.
It was Gary's fault.
Yeah, let's see. But that was.
You log this in like your notes app on your phone?
Just the
Oh, man, that's amazing.
I want to know the pickleball. So who did you and I play against them?
I think so.
Huh?
Because I think because we played Gail and Rob that night
We did
separately.
Yeah.
For the people at home listening to us, we're just
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
this is what really matters, right? Talking about scores.
Yeah, trophies and scores don't
This is
matter,
just for
right?
entertainment purposes.
Yeah. I mean, we talk a lot like sports and life they're like kind of intertwined.
Yeah, sports
intertwined,
imitates
yeah.
life.
mm-hmm.
I was talking about like with some guys the other night. We are talking about how like when men are competitive or anyone's competitive, it's like messy. It's like it's You told a story earlier. I had a story where last year, Kris knows this very well. I was learning racquetball, and I showed up every morning at 5 a.m. to play against my brother. And the first 31 matches, I only won 1 match. So I kept track of exactly. I was 1 for 31. And I would show up, and then after the end of the workout, I'd be like, one, I'm losing to my biggest competitor for my entire life. And I'm losing 31-1 to that biggest competitor. And I'm sitting there telling Kris, I'm like, why do I even come here every morning? And my wife's like, all I'm thinking about all day is like how I did in that racquetball match and this message. She's like, man, just quit. Like, why do you go? Like, why are you putting yourself through this on this competitive match? And I'm like, well, it's kind of the misery that I kind of enjoy, a little bit about it. Well, then the day that I was like kind of about to quit, I was like, let me just like just try like a different strategy, and that's why I'm always big about the strategy. And so I started playing against him, and then finally, like I came back after being down. 20. You played 21, but like 20-8, and then I proved myself like, oh, I can do this. So after I went 1 for 31, we went 50-50 for the rest of the year last year.
Wow.
And it was like the biggest turnaround. But then it was getting to a place where my days, this is not what you should do, but my days were great whether I won or bad if I lost, And then, but there's just something about that where it's like, if I woke up at 4:30, put in all my effort at 5 a.m., well, whatever that thing I have to deal with at work, that like at 8 o'clock is nothing compared to what I just did from 5 to 6,
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's what's nice. So they're intertwined, When you have strategy for pickleball, you have strategy for your life too.
Yeah.
100%.
Did you find it before we?
No,
It's all right.
I've got
We didn't make the.
Yeah.
I've got to make the log.
Yeah.
I've got February 7th.
We probably won all this.
We went 5-0 versus them. Remember? I won't say any names.
Who is that? Is that pickleball?
Yeah, P-ball.
Oh,
The date and
I don't
then
remember who those guys are. They're probably not worthy opponents.
Slaughter and
Just kidding.
Carolina.
Just kidding.
Remember?
Yeah, that's right.
And we
Yeah, that was a
stayed-
good match.
Yeah, that last match we won 15-13 and we stayed late and kept them late.
Yeah, that was a good match.
Anywho, then I've got just a little, So let's see.
So Matt, so is there anything in your life that's like a life changing, like
Yeah.
made you a different person?
I mean, there's a lot, and
Yeah.
everyone has them, But I think like one of the earlier ones was kind of like in college. I was kind of living that life where you take one step forward, 2 step back, kind of lifestyle. Where I always had like the values of like hard work and discipline. Like those are kind of traits that I like that I kind of live by, which is doing those things. And those started from having jobs at young ages, things like that. But I think my biggest one was in college. And it was my sophomore year.
Are you allowed to say that?
I don't know, but you just edit it out, But I'm past the 10 years now, so we're good. So no, I got, and so I was in that night.
Wow.
It's the week before finals, and it was one of those days though where I'd actually had a good day where it was one of those college days where I had 2 finals or 2 tests that were like the week before the finals. And in business school, you have 1 test a year. You have 2 tests a year. One at the end of the year, and then you have a final presentation, and that's like it. And that's your grade. So the whole year leads up to that 1 test. So I had 2 of them, and then I had a presentation to give. And we did really good on the presentation, and then you know how the rest of the night, guy gets job offer, but I'd pull an all-nighter, which you're not supposed to do, but I pulled all-nighter and did that whole deal. Well, I found myself in this, and then all of a sudden this wave of just like, and I meet this guy who is having his third, and he was a Walmart executive, and so I can't say any names, but he was an executive. It may not have been Walmart, but it was like one of the big companies up there, and he was he was worried about like, dude, my kids are gonna wake up tomorrow and not have like food on their table. And so we just talked, man. It was like really kind of emotional, and I was like thinking a lot about life, where it always just kind of this feeling where I was trying to be just like perfect in all these areas, and it felt like I was carrying all these plates. And I remember like walking home one night from the bars, just thinking, man, all this could just like crumble like tomorrow. And then like a week later, there I was like in that thinking, man, like then I had to go take finals the next week while also dealing with all the lawyers and like do all this stuff, and but that conversation with that guy was just like, man, it was so emotional. It made me think, man, I've been hard on my parents, maybe not as grateful for the things that I was given as much. It also made me think like I kind of saw a window of what future could look like, and I didn't like how that vision looked, and you know that like it was a small like seeing him on his third one and not be able to feed his kids, and he was kind of like in a way he was like this figure 20 years older than me that I thought I was working toward in a way to be this successful executive guy that that looked like the part, but I could see where, man, all of my decisions, how they could build, and we had about 6 hours together, and being an all-nighter doesn't help with the conversation because it was just flowing, and he was just so emotional, but he just like, I kind of got to see where he started in his college, so like what led to those things and his lifestyle, and I just said, man, it gave me a view of like what I didn't want to have in life, and I've always been good at trying to find those things I don't want. I still am always growing and trying to work on being good at what I do want and being clear about that. But seeing that was like a big moment, and going through that was a moment. They published that. They published, and
is that here in Little Rock?
It's in Northwest Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
So everyone knows it. Back then I thought it was cool because with the it's not cool at all, but to have a cool looking picture, on that, and but everyone knows. So now you have to like walk in front of everybody, and then that was also a reflection of like, hey, like you're not hidden in all your decisions, like will be seen at some point, in any decision you make, and then trying to like.
That's good.
That way.
And then trying to like interview for jobs. Like I had one job where, and Chris knows this is where I got connected about Chris, where I had interviewed for the job, but I couldn't get it because I still had that thing on my record, and I had to wait for that to get off my record. And then it led me to a harder year that I had to endure. But that harder year gave me a lot of traits that I ended up working back at that job. And then year and a half later, I found myself supervisor of that position that I had lost. So it all kind of worked out because it gave me a lot of humility, and it made me forced to be more public than I ever even wanted to be, and it made me really think about what could go wrong with how I was living my current life, trying to balance all of those traits that I felt in my core that I felt like I was doing. I felt like I was thin, but you could see where, hey man, this is a ramification. So I need to get serious about my intentions, but it made life harder after college for a shorter amount of time, and then that was like kind of humbling. It made getting a job harder, things like that. And then my parents, like I was upset with parents were real upset. I felt like I let them down, so then I had to go get a scholarship so that way I could pay for all that, so that way they didn't have to feel like they had to pay anything, But so that was a big moment, Then there was like later in life, it was then being on the other side of those where kind of those dreams I had, I got to kind of have some taste of those, and this is where me and Chris got to share a lot of like enlightened moments of some travel experiences that when I was in that, I never thought that I would be able to have, reading books, things like that but it took like sort of understanding how low that felt, being in that moment, to then appreciate kind of these things later. And then it's just like, when you have experience like that, you kind of go back and you go, man, I don't want to have that feeling again, So I've worked really hard to not have that feeling, because I don't want to be in that telling someone else who's 20 years younger than me from now going, hey man, this is where you can screw up all the way. You guys are talking about
my second time.
I mean, you're talking about like health and like age and stuff like that, and it's like, man, you got kind of one shot, at doing this, and so it's like, man, but the weird, exciting part about going through that is you kind of learn though when you've gone through something low, it's like also you can lose everything too and be like, well, hey, I started from that, so I can go start from that again, and then it does kind of, I know this sounds bad, but a low moment in your life actually kind of gives you like this license to be a little bit more free, where it's like, me and my wife talked a lot about that. I'm like, if we lose everything we have right now, it'll be fine, man. Go. I'll go be a waiter somewhere and start again or something like that. But because I've always been as low as I've felt before, so and I can get out of that, so I can get out of anything, you know. But unfortunately, it's just like the ride was rough going through that, you know. If that makes sense out of that.
It's like that guy was like your potential future self,
Right.
You know, and you,
yeah.
and you realize that, and that's good.
Well, like kind of like externally, he like looked like everything. Like he looked like the guy, you know, and the way he talked and his job title was like, you know, when you're coming out of college, I mean, how do I become that, you know? And that's that guy that's 40 years old and doing, you know, and in the business world or whatever. So yeah, exactly. I saw kind of my future self, and it hit me at a point where I was like kind of in a very place of humility and like reflection and just very low, feeling very low, you know, and so exactly, yeah, that scared me seeing that guy, meeting that guy, and learning about what he was messing up. So that'd be one of those moments,
Good.
you know.
So I have a question for both of you. What does success look like for you? Describe to me what success looks like for you. You want to start, or you want to start?
And I haven't done an interview in a while.
Yeah, I'm just starting to.
Yeah.
You want to start?
I'm just gonna
Okay.
get back to the cancer. It's just being successful is trying to, you know, beat this cancer, and back to the tumor. Anyways, we got it small enough, the golf ball size, that we, you know, booked this flight and trip to Philly. So March 13th, I actually had the surgery, and they went in and took the tumor out, and then split the kidney into two. So now I have two
Normal.
working, functioning, everything
Nice.
separate. So
it turned
in case
out,
something happens, yeah.
Yeah. Turned out better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I have cancer, I actually asked the doctor, you know, last week. I said and he thinks the possibility of getting cancer in your kidney again would, you know, just astronomically small, you know, if that even makes sense. But so I did ask him. I said, well, if I do get cancer in one, can we take out the other not take out the other, take out the one that has the cancer, and the other one, you know, I could still live with just the one. And he said, either way, that if either side gets cancer, that we can take one out instead of having to, you know, do a harder, you know, surgery to get it out of there. But I can function and live with one or the other, you know.
Wow.
So it's
success
cool.
for you
is beating cancer and
being cancer free,
and hopefully, you know, being,
stay
like you
healthy.
said, an inspiration, stay healthy. I mean, thanks to Ellie, you know, but even before the cancer, she's changed my diet. You know, I don't eat, you know, nearly, I mean, something close to the junk food I used to eat, you know, before her. And I thank her for that. I mean, I could have way worse cancer everywhere if I didn't, you know, and there's no tying it to, because I smoked forever, I drank forever, I quit both, you know, years ago.
Wow.
And I don't know if that was part of it. And my dad had, you know, multiple myeloma, which is cancer it was in the bone, but it was in like the white, either the plasma or the white blood cells, I forget. But we, you know, kind of maybe thought it was that, but it you know, it wasn't. And I just lost my train of thought again. But surgery, that they, you know, took it out, and I had the scan today, and it doesn't show it in there. And then the clavicle, you can't really read on a scan because it's in the bone. But I'm going to hopefully start radiation, you know, early, maybe even next week, because we meet with our oncologist.
So what happened to the
Thursday.
fracture? It's healed up?
No, I guess it's healed enough that, you know, I'm back to right-handed now for, I guess, maybe 6 months or longer. You know, I've been hitting right-handed, but it's supposedly it's still there, and we're going to target radiation that. And I'll find out more this Thursday. We'll go over the scan today, and then we'll, you know. But that's what we're gonna target. We're gonna target radiation.
Focus on that next.
Yeah. So
That's amazing.
hopefully we'll get it out of there, and I'll be cancer free. But I'm not cancer free yet. I'm just ready to
You
ring
beat me
some
with your
bell
right
somewhere.
hand.
You know,
Yeah.
whatever that is. You know. But I just wanted to finish that story,
that's
so
good.
we could kind of, you know.
So Matt, what does success look like for you?
Yeah, well, it's hard to say anything when we've got cancer across
Well,
our window. You know, not complain about anything forever. You know, like Kris said. No, it's I think it kind of gets back to this thing I was talking about earlier of like, just did I say like I kind of look at life in like the 5 or 6 like main areas, and then I try to be intentional in those areas. Like health, career, and I call it personal finance. So just finance your career, family and friends, and those relationships, and I'm investing in those, and then I add in my spiritual life, and then my last thing would be like for me it's the bucket list items, and just like because those things give me energy. And so at different points in my life, wherever I'm at, sometimes like the health thing is taking more of like focus than the bucket list thing. I once had to have shoulder surgery and had to sit out for 6 months, and it really like, dude, it was terrible because I also like to play sports and had to have that, and so that health bucket took it, but then I had to like redefine like what does success look like in those areas. And like the hardest thing that most people struggle with is like, and I do too, is like I want to go all in on this like life, personal finance area, career stuff, but when I do that, there's other things like lose as much focus, and that's relationships and relationship with my wife, or family and things like that. So I try to like look at every week, and Kris knows this. I've been doing this for like 8 years, where every Sunday I look at these 5 areas and I just kind of write out like, okay, what did I do well this week? What did I do well? It's almost like a business analysis, but I'm trying to because I'm just trying to make sure that I'm balanced. And they say balance is impossible, but it's not really like balance. It's like I know that one area might need more attention than the other, but am I still being intentional in all those areas? So like if I'm successful, then I'm being intentional basically in those areas, like and like on the health thing, like discipline, like I get mad at myself if I miss a workout, and so it's just like successful doesn't matter. It's not really the amount of workouts you do; it's more of just the showing up and quantity. Like I've read Atomic Habits. I know you guys have too, but it's like you can still meet your health goals even if you have a bad workout, but as long as you had a workout and you showed up. So that's like, to me, successful was even if I worked out for 5 minutes or an hour. When I was 23, it was like, that was not what I would say. It would be like, did I bench press 245 pounds? But that's changed. In my relationships, like, am I being intentional about my relationships? And so one of the areas I've worked on as a newlywed, which is like, make sure I have a date night or time set with my wife, and I can't miss that. As much as I want to go play golf that day, I cannot skip that. Because that's an investment, into my life. So if I'm not doing those things, I'm not being successful. And then that's same thing with the career and the finance. So that's it. I mean, it's like, and what I'm doing with all that is I'm adding a word, and as I'm giving my word of what I'm going to accomplish or what I want to do, and then I then measure myself. Am I living up to what I said I'm going to do? So, and I try to do that in all the areas of my life. Like, if I tell you guys I'm going to be here, I'm going to be there, and that's success. So that's it for me. I when I used to travel, I thought about this like view, which is like, I used to love sitting in the window seat. Are you guys window seat folks? Yeah.
I'm an aisle.
You're in an aisle seat. It was the access to the bathroom. Yeah.
No, I don't want to bother people.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm just like staring out the window. I'm sitting there looking out and going, man, like I don't want to lose like this window seat view of life. Life, love, of truth, where you're like, when you're flying up there, there's not like directions, but you just kind of know like you're going the right path, and then you're like looking out at everything. And so I'm trying to do that with my own life, where I'm trying to look at my life through this sort of like peaceful, you're looking out the window and you're just seeing how everything's kind of working together. And then hopefully I don't have to spend so much time with like the reactionary stuff, because it's like I kind of know where everything's going. I know how my health, the reason working out is important is so that way I can say yes to opportunities. So if I go play pickleball, that's important to me, and that gives me a life. The reason finance is important, and so that way you can also say yes to opportunities or give back or whatever, or the reason I want to invest in my relationship with you guys is because that then gives me energy. So I know what to say yes to, I know what to say no to. It's like I can just kind of go with life that way. But I'm not successful when I'm too caught up and not seeing like sort of the big picture for my life, and I'm living other people's vision for my life. That's when I'm not being successful, and I'm not doing the things I say I want to do.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a hypothetical situation. Okay. So,
okay.
So
you interview too much. If I was a flavor of ice cream, what flavor would I be?
Yeah, I have to hire the right people. So anyway, so pretend you had a spinal injury.
Yeah.
And you're wheelchair bound.
Yeah.
You are not. Your legs have no function.
Yeah.
You can only use your hands.
Yeah.
And then you are not able to work. You don't have a job. You're dependent on people providing you with your daily needs.
Okay.
What does success look like for you at that point?
Man.
How would you define success at that point?
So I can't work.
You can't work.
Waited on.
I mean, you can work, but you're paralyzed. You have to you have to self-catheterize to pee.
Okay.
You have to wear a diaper, and you don't have money. You are dependent on people's generosity, or handouts, or government support, or your family support.
Yeah.
You're completely dependent on people around you.
Yeah.
What does success look like?
Man, that's a good question. I think it's.
I'm glad you asked him.
Yeah.
Oh, you wait for your question.
See why you're so successful with your business there, but
huh?
no, like I think
puts everyone.
Yeah, yeah. All right, you're in a blender. You're trying to get
no,
out.
I told Chris yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to penetrate your heart and your soul.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking you this, because I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn who you are.
No, I mean,
and what your thoughts.
The thing about like life is like it's like comes to the bread. Like you have to take the bread, and life can be very humbling. And what I mean by that is like to Rick, who's been an example of this. He's sitting there going, he's been given, when I say the bread, take that from the religious context, but he's given his life the cards that he was dealt, and he has taken it very humbly. He's been not complaining, which you guys come across, and he's been he's just making the best of it in that case. So, to your question, and I really need to think about that. It's like if I am
making you think.
Yeah. No, because I see what you're saying. It's like I am very sort of proactive in my life, and now I'm taking away all the ability to be proactive. But then that comes to what do I still have? And man, I read this book. I think it's called like The Ghost Boy. Have y'all ever read that?
Yeah.
So you
I read that book.
So man, I would want to be him if I was in that situation.
So that's the guy who's been locked in syndrome. So he's aware, but his body cannot move.
Yeah. So I read that like years ago, and man, I was like volunteering with some people that have like special needs, and what was inspiring about it was we were down in I was down in Dallas working with these guys that were these people with special needs, and this nonprofit gave them jobs, and man, they were like the hardest working people I've ever met, enough to where it made me go, Chris, I can never complain about work, because these guys, like, they've got all the things to complain about, but here they are, like, working their butt off and working better, and grateful for even having that job. On that book, Ghost Boy, and you might remember than I do, but I just remember it was the guy that had the locked-in syndrome.
Yeah.
And for like 2 or 3 years, like, he was there in his head, but no one knew that, and they couldn't tell. And then finally a nurse kind of had heard about that, saw him kind of blink, and was like, I think maybe there's someone in there. And he finds out that he had been trapped. He's basically his mind was trapped in his body, and then dude, the guy ended up writing a book and like giving speeches. Basically, a nurse finds out, like thinks he might be in there. They have this technology where you can use your eyes to speak. Is that right? The technology or something like that.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, like they're like, oh, he knows a couple words. He knows a lot of words. He's fully there, and he cannot. He's locked in his body and trapped, and that's why they called him like Ghost Boy. Well, then he was guy in there writing books and like having these seminars and speeches about that. So I guess if I was spineless, independent, I've never written a book before, so I'd write a book.
That's success for you at that point.
Success would be more like being like Rick, where I'm making the best of the situation, but not complaining.
So write the book for what would motivate you to write the book, other than something to do? What would motivate you?
Well, I mean, I'm just tying it to something where I've always wanted to do, and so if I didn't have all those things, but I had a brain, then I would. Then I could, and I could do that. Then I've taken the bread and going, man, the cards that I have right now, I can play tennis every day. With your situation, if I can write a book or something, and that's all I could do, well then I'm gonna do that, and then I'll be successful because now I've made the best out of that card I was dealt. Like obviously, like when we compete, there's a way. There's like winning, and then there's like the way you won, and I think it's really, what I like about playing against you guys, y'all are gracious winners, maybe not losers, but you win. Like some of the like the best like tennis players that we look up to, like for me would be, just bringing tennis into this, would be Rafael Nadal, because. And even Roger Federer, but Roger Federer dealt with a lot of anger issues when he was playing tennis, and Djokovic also was the same thing. Now, Roger Federer's anger issues was, I thought, the coolest part about it. To go on a tangent, but the reason he was so upset was because he could hit all these shots that he knew he could hit in his head, but he couldn't put it all together, and so he was getting angry because he wasn't performing the way his brain knew he could, and then finally he like got all the pieces and tapped it in. But I always looked up to Rafael Nadal because of his class and like how he won, but also how he lost too. The other guys weren't the best losers, but Nadal would always be very classy with how he lost. So if I'm in a situation like that, it's maybe the success needs to be just how I want to be the best at handling that card I'm dealt. And that's a hard question because I
have a follow-up question that's
proactive life. Yeah.
And Nadal never broke a racket, supposedly.
Yeah.
Like Djokovic broke like 50 in his pro career, and Federer's like 5, and he's like 0.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I've
it's like
seen that somewhere.
They're all three greats, like the greatest players, and then you get to kind of choose, well, which one would I want to be like, And to me, he was always the most envious because of how he handled his defeats. Rick. Yeah, I do too.
So my follow-up question to both of you. So if I were to meet you on the street, and I say, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm Terence and Tawaco. Tell me about yourself. What would you tell me? Introduce yourself to me. Who are you? I mean, tell me. What would you say? Let's start with you. Hey, Rick.
Hey, what's going on?
Terence.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. So, hey, tell me more about you. Tell me something about you. How would you introduce yourself?
I think I don't know if it's my best asset, but I'm caring. I care.
No, just talk to me as if
like
you're talking to me.
What? What do you? I don't know what you mean.
Just like if you ran into
So I ran into you, so I'm saying, hey.
Like a hypothetical?
Yeah.
No. Like I don't know anything about you. I'm gonna say, hey, Rick, I'm Terence. Good to meet you. Hey, tell me something about yourself. What do you do? No. What do you do? Tell me who you are. Rick, tell me who you are. I don't know you. I've never met you. I met you. I'm at the car wash area. Know. That lady that showed you the car.
I didn't tell her anything
okay,
about me besides what I
I'm
went
that
through.
lady in the car. So I say, hey, tell me something about yourself. Tell me who you are.
Put me on the spot. I don't.
No,
Go here.
No,
I don't.
no,
No, I'm real. I don't know. I mean,
like you, like pretend I don't know you.
I know, but what do you? I don't know what you want to. I don't know what you want to know or what.
No, how would you introduce yourself to me, who's a total stranger? Or say I meet you at the tennis court or the pickleball court. I say, hey Rick, hey I'm Terence. Tell me something about yourself. How would you introduce yourself to make me know who you are? No? Okay, you think about it.
Yeah, or you just reverse it with me, and what would you tell me about you?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know where you're going. I mean, I don't.
No, I just want to. So I'm thinking, if I don't know you, how would I introduce myself to someone? It's not a trick question.
No, I know, but I
Yeah.
go over there. I don't know.
I mean,
Sorry.
I would definitely answer that probably in the very like external way of kind of what I do.
Yeah, so
know.
tell me, like,
And
like
Marcus-
we're talking. So,
Yeah,
hey Matt, I'm Terrence. How you doing? So,
yeah. And then
tell me-
I would say
tell me-
something like, I would say what I do, what career field I'm in, how I help people. That's what I do. And I've tried to get better at not doing that. And then I usually would say something like, I'm looking for a way to tell you that I'm a history nerd, or I like learning about U.S. history, or just something random like that. So I love learning about history. I like reading about biographies for people. That's something about.
Yeah. No. The reason I'm asking that is because so first I asked you about the paralysis thing.
Yeah.
You can't do anything, and then you have no money, you have nothing. So a lot of times when we get asked, like if you ask me, hey Terrence, tell me something about yourself, so I'm gonna say, hey, I'm a doctor. I'm a gastroenterologist. I'm a father of 3. And I'm married, and
Well, I mean, I could have told you all that, but I
Well,
didn't know what you were going with.
No.
the situation.
Right, so that's what I'm.
That's
like,
normally
That's normally what we all say.
Well, if I met Chris on the pickleball court, we didn't talk about anything. We just played.
Yeah.
And then we went to dinner and we talked about stuff, but we didn't meet
Yeah.
each other and say, "Hey, I like history," or "I like orange
So
juice."
when people
No, but we did talk a lot about tennis, and we talked Chris a lot about those different athletes.
Yeah,
and
we did. We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm new to it,
Yeah.
even though my mom played.
But no, I
So
know what you
where I'm
mean.
going with that is
Okay,
that I would,
I
if
got
you were
you.
to ask me, or you were to
Yeah.
ask me to say, like, I just knew Ellie recently. If Ellie was to ask me, hey Terrence, tell me something about yourself, so then normally I would say, I'm a gastroenterologist.
Yeah.
I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm married. I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
And blah blah blah. I love to play tennis.
Yeah.
Pickleball, right? So I've changed. I've had some thoughts about that. Is because what we say becomes our identity.
Yeah.
And so if my identity becomes I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
So when I retire, my sense of identity gets compromised.
Yeah.
Because so if I'm 65 or 70 and I'm a retired doctor now, and somebody asks me, tell me about yourself, what am I gonna say?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I was a doctor, or I'm a retired doctor. And as I say the word I'm a retired doctor, I would already feel like I've lost.
Yeah.
I'm no longer important
Yeah.
because I'm a retired doctor now. Whereas now I can say, hey, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a gastroenterologist.
Yeah.
I'm a successful doctor. Then I feel successful. I feel good. I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
And then so if I say, I'm father of 3 kids, and then my kids suddenly get married, have their own family and everything, and then you feel less of a father now because your kids don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
My value and my sense of identity was tied to me being important because my kids are dependent on me.
Right.
So that
Yeah.
I asked that because I've come to that realization that that's why I was asking you about what does success look like for you, because for now, like because I'm just enjoying this interaction because you guys are sitting there obviously by design because you guys are the young ones and we're the older ones.
Yeah.
Because like I always tell Chris, I used to speak like you.
Yeah.
Everything you just said,
Yeah.
I've said those things.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always, even up to now, you know, I'm very driven. I'm motivated. I feel like life is under control until it's not.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm pointing that out is because because my next question to you guys will be.
Geez.
Yeah.
Maybe I can answer this one. Maybe not.
I like it. Yeah.
Because like Chris and I in our previous episodes, in fact, at the beginning of the first few episodes, I've always had this. I always talk about death.
Yeah.
Not because I want to be morbid, but because I feel like if I want to live well, I need to know how I want to be remembered when I'm dead.
Yeah.
So that's my next question to you: is that what would you like? What would you want people to say for your eulogy?
Yeah.
Because that's how I think. I want to live my life the way I want you guys, when you're at my funeral and you're talking about me, I want to live my life the way I would hope you guys would say about me at my funeral.
Yeah. Well,
so what is that for you? I know it sounds morbid, but it's not. But it's a good way for me. For me, I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
That's the way I guide my life. Is how I want to be remembered when I'm dead.
Yeah.
So
no, it's a good question, and actually bring on the hard questions. Let's go. You know, but
it's not gonna be easy. It's what really matters.
Bring them. But it's you know. With my career, I help people with their finances. I see a lot of people that die and work through families through that, and it's often a reminder about that question you just asked because you know the truth is and kind of goes back to your point about identity. All the people I've looked up to, I had one kind of mentor talk about. He said you kind of need to have he was a really successful entrepreneur. And I use the word was. He is, I guess. He is a successful entrepreneur.
Is he retired?
Still is. Retired. He still is. But he would always talk about having, you know, he'd have 1 foot into his career and then his 1 foot out. And the way that he lived that life was he would be the first one in the office. He would be there to be seen. But then he also had this other life that he really valued, looked at. And then as a result, that kind of then built his identity to help him not stay so much into just 100% of that career. Now, not a lot of people have that in their life because you kind of, to be successful, you almost need to go the extreme in that whatever career area that you need to be in. But then you do get to a point where you got to be careful though, because then your identity becomes like that, what you just said. So he always encouraged that. So I've always seeing someone, anytime I've had my identity tied up into my career, you know what it feels like. It feels very up and down. And it's like, you know, whether it was helping people with their finances, well, that moment I didn't help someone with their finances. Now my identity is just gone, you know, or lost, or whatever that job is, you know. So you got to be careful. So I do try to, because I've seen that, and I've seen my own ego and pride going through the roof when I was crushing it, but also feel so humble when I wasn't. That it is important to try to have your identity not in those things. So to kind of then your question about the death and morbidity, well, I've seen people really wealthy who pass away and no one's at their funeral, and I've seen people really wealthy where people literally were flying on private jets at their funeral, and it was packed the room. And what was interesting about both of those, you know, those scenarios is that they both had a lot of money at the end, so they both had the material things. But the guy that had the people show up, he was a lot more intentional. Kind of like I was talking about with those other kind of areas of his life, and he kind of had that view and lens, and we would have long talks about other things. He was a golfer, and one of the guys was a big golfer and loved doing that, you know, and then he liked connecting with people about it. So, you know, I want to be remembered by, because the thing is, like, if you when you pass away, like, you're not careful, your family, and if you're not doing things right, intentional. Worst case scenario is I see people are going to be fighting over your money and just your things, and no one's going to be there at your funeral to even be there. You're just kind of a thing for them. So, man, I'm really trying to put my success in, like, investing in kind of the relationships and leaving people off better than I found them, or my wife, my relationships with you guys. Like, I would love to say, man, like, at my funeral, man, Matt always said what he wanted, that he always did what he said he was going to do. So follow the word, and he was there for me, checking in, sending the text to check in. He was the best pickleball player. No, I'm just kidding. He's the best. He was a great competitor, because that's how I want to live my life, to be a good competitor. Was he those things? And like, we talk about this, like, in gym, but just dealing with stress. Like, if your life is less stressful, or you're coming out of cancer, your life is less stressful. Well, now all of a sudden, like, you have an impact on Terrence, or Dr. Terrence, and then you have an impact on Kris, and then you have an impact on this people, and now you, like, start touching, like, 100 people. So if I have a positive impact on you, well, then that actually impacts 100 other people. But also the inverse is true. If you're negative, if you're being very negative and grouchy, well, they say, like, a negative influence on somebody lasts, like, 6 to 8 hours longer than, like, a positive influence. So you know how many days you could ruin, Rick, just by, like, if you've been, like, grouchy this past year.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
You could be complaining with Terrence, now Terrence is not having a good day, and all those things. And I think about that a lot when we were, like, in health and fitness. Like, when you'd see these people, a lot of times whenever they would, like, start losing weight and be successful with that, man, like, all their relationships got better, and then that made everything else better. So it's kind of like, I really try to think about a lot, like, and I'm not always the best at it, because I do get so competitive, and those emotions can get kind of ugly sometimes.
I've seen that.
But I'm trying to be, I want to be remembered.
Play a tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was like, I want to be remembered and be good, and say, man, this guy had an impact, on people around him that was positive and not negative, because the world's real negative out there. So that's my long answer there.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think, just like I was going to say earlier, being caring and thoughtful, and being a positive impact on people, and not being negative all the time.
Yeah, because so if I was to deliver a speech about both you guys, I'm not gonna mention anything about how successful you are, how you do what you say, what you say you're gonna do. If you were to ask me to say something, or if somebody asked me to say something about you, I would say, when I first met him at the pickleball court, and this is honest.
No,
this is honest
it's
truth,
yeah.
okay? I mean, you're alive. I'm not doing a eulogy. I'm doing a tribute to you.
Okay.
If somebody was
that.
if somebody were to ask me about you, I'm not gonna mention, oh, he's a go-getter, he's competitive, oh, he's successful, he's a very driven man. I'm not. Those don't matter to me. Yeah. What I'm gonna tell people when somebody asks me about Matt, I'm gonna say this. This is the honest truth. When I met you at the pickleball court the first time, when you didn't know who I was or who I am, you know nothing about me, and I entered your court, you and Kris were playing, and there was a poster that says for mid skill, right? So there was a beginner, there was a moderate skill.
We were on the wrong court.
No. This is the honest truth, okay? This is the honest truth. So there was that time when we were playing pickleball, they would have this court that says beginners, and moderate skill or something. Intermediate.
Yeah.
So I walked into that court, and you guys were playing, and I had nobody to play with. I was going to play with you guys the first time.
Oh yeah.
And you didn't know who I was, but you were kind to me.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's the honest truth. You were kind, and you were welcoming. That made an impact on me. I don't care. I didn't care at that time whether you're rich or you're poor, whether you're successful or not, whether you're competitive or not. I didn't even know whether you're good at pickleball or not. And I found out you're not. I'm just kidding. But,
at the moment.
But at that time, what made an impact on me and what really mattered was you were kind and you were welcoming. And so, like all these things that you said tonight, yeah, I know you were focusing on your career, about being driven and everything, but behind everything that you said, you always go back to you were caring.
Oh, I see.
But in your mind, what you're projecting out is about success, driven, everything. But at the back of it, when I redirect your answers and I question you, you end up going back to you care because I mean I don't know you very well, but in my mind, for the impact that you made on me is you're kind and you were very welcoming. So you're very kind. So that's probably the word, and that made an impact on me more than anything else. And same thing with you. And what you said is exactly who you are. What you said, how you want to be remembered is exactly how I feel you were. I mean, like I said, we don't know each other that well, but you always come across kind. In fact, I've had conversations with my wife about you guys. We talk behind your backs, but I've always what I'm telling you in front of the camera here is the same thing I've told my wife. And so my point being, the impact you guys made on me has nothing to do with the material world, because the same way that like I said earlier, even if you give me $1 million today, it will not make me feel richer or happier. In the same token, you can be the richest guy, the most successful guy, the most driven guy. I don't care. It doesn't make an impact on me. What impacts on me is you're kinder than me.
I don't know about that.
No. For real, because I admire people who have something I don't have. I mean, I'm not going to say, I mean, I'm relatively kind, but if I find people who are kinder than me, it makes an impact on me. It makes me say, I want to be like them. That's why I hang out with you guys. That's why I wouldn't have asked you guys to come here tonight if I had no respect for you guys. Okay? I mean, because this is our 10th episode. We can only have 2 spots for 2 guests. Right? I could have invited a successful businessman or a successful whoever, but that's not what matters to me. I want to talk to people or listen to people who have something that I don't have enough of, right? So in life we fall in love with different kinds of people. Usually there's an average of about 3 people.
Right.
One person is the one who's like so good that it's like a firecracker, or not firecracker, but fireworks. Like it comes in with a bang. You know, this guy's impressive. He's successful. He makes a lot of money. He does everything. He's successful. Whatever, right? But those relationships typically are impressive at the beginning, and then they fizzle away. You know, and then there are those people that are just quiet. And they just don't say anything, and those relationships sometimes, and they're good at the beginning, you know, and then later on you realize, I outpace them, you know. I'm more ambitious than them, and you know, then the relationship doesn't last. And then there are those people who reflect who you are or who you want to be.
Right.
Or people who reflect and make you realize the truth about yourself. And those are the relationships that typically last. Right?
Yeah.
And so same thing with this discussion. It's like you guys, the one thing in common about all you three is that you guys are kinder than me. And if I was to put my identity, your identity, if I was to be the one to answer the questions I asked you,
Right.
the identity that you guys have is kindness. You know, so in the end, when you're paralyzed, when you have no money,
Oh, I see.
what really matters is
Still be kind.
your very essence, you know, your soul,
Wow.
who you really are. So one time I was not interviewing, but I had a meeting with one of our executives, and so it was more of like I was trying to counsel and encourage and help him be more successful in his job. And so we had this kind of conversation. So I asked him, I said, so obviously we talked about spirituality and everything, but then I said, look at the mirror and pretend that you are bald, you're skin and bone, and you're wearing a torn up white t-shirt, and that's all you see in the mirror. And I asked him, I said, look at that image in the mirror and look straight into that person's eye. What do you see? In other words, who we are shouldn't be tied up to what we wear and what we look like, you know? So that's why when I talk to people, I look people straight in their eyes, because I'm trying to dig into your soul. And that sounds creepy, but I'm trying to, because I mean, I have deep friendships, and I look people into their soul before I invest time in people, and so, because that's the essence of who we are, you know. So all the externals don't really matter. In the end, when we're all in that, when we have 5 minutes of life left, it doesn't matter how much money you made. It doesn't matter how much money you made for other people. What really matters in that 5 minutes of life, when somebody's sitting beside you and you're about to pass from this life, is that, have you made an impact on somebody's life, right? That's how I feel. Because I know it's important for us to be successful and do the stuff. Yes, that's important to some degree, but I want to prepare myself for that last 5 minutes of my life. And the reason is because I've listened to interviews of dying people, and even Steve Jobs. They don't talk about their success.
Right.
They just talk about, you know, the impact. I mean, their regrets are their regrets about having spent too much time in their business and in trying to be the best, the richest, the stuff. A lot of the regrets in people's deathbed is striving for things that don't matter and don't last. So I would rather, so the reason why I do this and the stuff that I do is because it's partly for myself. I'm trying to be better.
That's cool.
I'm not the kindest person in the world. My wife will tell you that. I'm not the most forgiving person in the world, but I try to be. But I want to be more. So my obsession in life is I want to be kinder, and I want to be more forgiving, because I'm not. I'm not where I want to be. So that's where the questioning was leading to.
I think you're like on the right path, and there's a quote that's like, you are shaped by the world that you shape. So it's kind of you know, on the kindness thing, that you, and appreciate all the compliments and the praise. I mean,
that's just for the podcast.
I know it's like I know it's like after, you know, on the pickleball court, but
just for ratings.
Like, so I thought about that quote last year, and me and my wife, we did this. Let's do an experiment. So the kindness thing, it's, you know, my to fall this way. It's just something I try to work on the same way that you are. And we did this experiment where like I had to go do this a Saturday errand day. Y'all know what that is? It's when you go with your wife and you do the errands that she wants to do. And I was dreading it. There are places that I hate to go do. That would hate to go. That would be like shopping on a Saturday, you know. But I'm like, okay, I'm going.
I'm all in on that.
I'm committed to this, and so I'm like, well, let's do an experiment to see how can we make this a good day for me. And so I was like, and I was thinking about that quote about, hey, you're shaped by the world that you shape. So I was like, hey, let's treat everybody just like extra nice, like the nicest that you could treat them today, and let's just see what happens. So we spent the next 8 hours, and we ended up having the most fun day. The cashier at the Dollar General that we talked to, you know, she's like, hey, you know, I started asking her how she's doing. She started asking me, and then we start making this joke. She goes, well, I can't complain. And I said, well, because no one would listen if you do. And then she jumped at it, you know, and then next thing you know, my wife's like, that girl was always so mean to everybody, and then she was nice to you. And then, you know, we go get ice cream later, and then the guy starts talking to us, and we start talking about cars, and we just had all these like little moments where it like people were welcome to that just by doing what you were talking about, just talking to them about their car or things like that. And man, it shaped my whole day of something I was dreading, to where just by being forcing myself to try to be extra kind made this whole day experience better. So now I was shaped by this thing that I was shaping. And so when it comes to, you know, what matters or trying your best at like the kindness, like you kind of are doing that by doing this here, and that'll help shape you to get on Rick's level.
No, it's like so like you're right on that path. So what I'm hearing you say is that when you're helping other people, you feel better.
You feel
right?
better, yeah.
So that's called the you know the happy high, the helper's high.
Yeah.
Right. I wrote about that recently about the helper's high, is because when we help people, our dopamine level. I mean, this is physiologic studies. There's so many studies done on this scientifically.
Yeah.
When you help other people, when you're kind to other people, your dopamine level goes up. Dopamine is the high, the hormone that gives you the high.
Right.
The ecstatic feeling, that high. So it's a dopamine level. You know, so it's been studied. Your epinephrine, the adrenaline goes higher. Your dopamine goes higher. So that's a physiologic thing. And God made us like this so that we would want to help people. Instead of taking drugs and getting that dopamine surge. You can also be addicted to helping other people because it makes you feel good. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And God, I believe God intentionally did that so that it would encourage us to love other people and help other people, you know, because when we help other people, we think we're causing ripple in the world. We're changing the world, world. We're mending broken hearts and everything. But what we don't realize is you're actually helping yourself.
Right.
As we try to help other people, you're actually making yourself more empathetic, you know, make you kinder, make your heart softer. I mean, my wife will tell you, I was very rigid and very unforgiving. I would say, this is the way things should be, and if you don't meet my criteria, I write you off.
Yeah.
I lost so many friends being like that. But over time, the one turning point in my life is when somebody forgave me when I didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
I remember that one moment. And ever since then, I realized, hey, if I felt so unforgivable and somebody forgave me, how can I not forgive other people for so little mistakes that they've made? So that's why I have a new principle that I try to follow, is I would rather love more than be more right. Right? Because a lot of times when you're younger, you would rather be right than love.
Yeah.
because you would say, that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not how it's supposed to be. He messed up, right? So that's why, like, we have, okay, so like I deal with a lot of employees. Sometimes people in the fit of rage or when they're depressed, or like, for example, today I saw a patient. This is a great example. She's 23 years old. So when she came to see me, she was skin and bone. She was underweight. And she was literally skin and bone. And she lost about 50 pounds. So when I saw her and I interviewed her, I was blessed to have been given the inspiration by God that I immediately knew what was wrong with her. She's 20 something. So she's been through so many doctors. They thought they ruled out cancer and all these things. But when I saw her, just the look, I've seen that look before. So I said, most likely you have a vascular problem where her arteries are compressing her intestines. And then I did the test. I confirmed it. I was right. And then anyway, so surgery was done, relieved that obstruction, and then now she has a blood clot because of the surgery. When you mess around with the blood vessels, you can form blood clots. Yeah. So she has a blood clot. But anyway, so she came back for a follow-up today, and she was angry and bitter and depressed. And so my nurse actually came up to me and said, she used to be so nice and bubbly and so positive. So I said to my nurse, she's very depressed. How can you not be depressed when you're 23 years old, you're skin and bone, and you can't eat because every time you eat, you feel sick. But so anyway, I was on time in the clinic until her, and then I ended up 1 hour with her because she's so depressed. I cannot just leave her like that. Yeah. So then I kept explaining to her what's wrong with her. I figured out what's wrong with her. It's as simple as she's constipated, severely constipated. And when you're severely constipated, your stomach doesn't move, you're bloated, you feel sick. You can't eat because your stomach, if your colon is full, your stomach doesn't move because otherwise you'll overflow. So that's how God made us, That's a normal reflex. So she's just miserable and she's uncomfortable and she's depressed because she's feeling hopeless. And she was angry. She was angry and bitter. But I could have said, well, you have no right to be rude to me. I'm trying to help you. Why are you so rude to me? Yeah. She was rude to me.
Right.
I could have said that. But in my mind, I was thinking, I would rather be the doctor than the patient. I would rather be the one being disrespected than be the one who's sick. Right? Mm-hmm. So in the past, I would have rather been right than to love. I would have rather said, you have no right to be rude to me because I'm trying to help you. But now, many years later and after a lot of experiences in life that humbled me, now I think, well, I need to show her some grace because she's suffering. Just put yourself in her shoes. You have no future. You're 23 years old. You can't finish college. You can't finish school because you're always sick. And you can't have any relationships. How can you feel bad all the time? How can you have time to have relationships? And she can't do anything. And that's the analogy I was asking you earlier about being in a wheelchair, paraplegic and everything, and have no money. And then so I said, I encourage you to go to Mayo Clinic to get an opinion. If you don't trust what I say, and I encourage you, don't take my word for it, because I'm not the world's expert on this. But I encourage you to go to Mayo Clinic. You know what the mother said? We can't afford it. I don't have the money to go to Mayo Clinic. Our insurance doesn't cover the visit. It's out of network. Plus the travel alone to go to a hotel and the airplane ride and everything, they can't afford it. Right? So am I going to impose what's right and wrong Am I gonna at that moment say, you have no right to be rude to me because I'm trying to help you? That is so disrespectful. Am I gonna push that? Or am I gonna just say, I'm here to serve, right? I'm a doctor. I didn't become a doctor because of my own will and my own determination and my own money. We talked about this in one of our episodes. I said to Kris, if my father or mother had died when I was a teenager, how would I afford to go to school and become a doctor? And then I was a foreign medical graduate. I applied to 200 places and I got 2 interviews for a position here. And I could have, and then I wasn't accepted in those 2 places. And by the grace of God, somebody who was kind enough knew about me from med school and took my resume and gave it to the chief, and I was accepted to that program in New York without an interview. Was that my doing? No. It was not because I was smart or whatever. It was by God's grace I got there, right? So I have nothing to brag on. So I'm here helping that lady. I have no right to say, hey, I'm helping you. You have no right to be rude to me. No, I have no right to say that because I'm in my position because God put me there. And so if God put me there, he put me there to serve him, to serve God by serving that lady who was rude to me. So I should be more humble. And I'm glad I found the strength to bite my tongue and try to be very patient. I stayed an hour with her and made me late for the rest of the day. But I found the strength to be patient by God's grace. But it starts with the realization that I don't deserve what I have now. I don't deserve where I am. Not that I didn't try my best, because even if I tried my best, I could have not made it. I could have not made it to become a doctor in the United States of America. I could not have. I mean, even my fellowship, I mean, we talked about this in our previous episode. It was by God's grace that somebody was kind to me and gave my resume to somebody and picked up the phone and called. That's why I did it for you.
That's cool. I appreciate that.
Thank you. That's what really matters.
Because you were asking me, right?
Yeah.
No, because
thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah. If you view life as a cake, then everything else is just the icing,
yeah.
and that's the good or the bad. Yeah. That's all a gift. So thanks for sharing that.
that's why when you said, no, So I asked Rick for his resume. I was trying to help him, and you asked me, you were thanking me. I felt like you don't have to thank me, because this is getting too deep. Because somebody did it for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
yeah. I mean, talking about resume, when you need to cut this out. So when you gave me your resume, and you said you're looking for a job, I mean, I barely know you, but it hit a chord in me. Is because somebody did it for me. Right? I mean, somebody did it for me when I didn't even deserve it. The people who helped me didn't even know me. Right? So I barely know you. I don't know if you're going to be I don't know, and I don't care if you're gonna return the favor. I really don't care about that. But that's not the whole point, you know. So because in the end, it's the helper's high, right? You find meaning in life, you find purpose in life only when you give something away. So it's not that I'm saying other people are wrong, but I'm just sharing what I've learned the hard way. I've learned a lot of things the hard way, and that's how I'm able to write my books. Is because I've learned things the hard way. I mean, they're not catastrophic mistake like, you know, going to jail or something for DUI. I'm just
Sorry,
kidding.
it happens to everybody.
Just kidding.
Happens to everybody.
I'm just kidding.
Except for you guys.
Or losing a pickleball match, you know. But anyway, no, seriously. The point is, if there's one lesson I learned in life, and my wife has helped me a lot. I mean, my wife is. I mean, you've met my wife. She's probably one of the most kind person you'll ever meet in your life. So she's helped me a lot. That's why if you marry right, you improve. You know. So I mean, when I say I marry right, it's not because of any physical beauty or anything. But it's it's good to, huh?
Well, it's in there.
Yeah, it's good to be surrounded by people who are better than you. Like even in our company, I would say I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. I always want to hire people who are smarter than me, and in the same way, I want to hang out with people who are kinder than me. That's why I hang out with you guys. Honest truth. I'm not gonna. I don't feel the need to hang out with people who are richer than me, because I'm not trying to be richer. I don't need to hang out with people who are more motivated than me, because I'm already too motivated. You know, I want to hang out with people who have what I don't have, and so kindness is something that I value a lot. Because if I can be 10% kinder each year, I will define that as success. That's what success looks like for me. If I can be kinder by 10% each year, I define that success.
So you got 10 years to go to get 100.
Yeah. So anyway.
And what I'm listening to is like the underlying theme of everything is the kindness, right? It is the checking in. It is the helping in whatever way it looks like, and contributing to someone else's life that we might otherwise miss or not have that opportunity, even if you don't know them, or if you don't know like what could happen. Like we're after a podcast one night, we're at a restaurant down the road, and this lady comes up. She said, she's like, "Are you Kris?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "I just love your family." And I'm like, "Tell me more. Like, I don't understand." And she's like, "We went to daycare together." And I was like, "Oh, we did." Sorry, I don't know. I don't remember. And she said, "Your mom would wait with me for 30 minutes until my mom got off work to come pick me up." She's like, "That changed my life." And I was like, "What?" I had like no idea. And I asked my mom, I said, "Hey mom, do you remember this chick?" "No." "Really? Like, and you did this? "Yeah, I probably did, but I don't remember." And I'm like, "Dang, you had no idea that you had such an impact on this lady's life." I'm like, it's kindness. That's what really matters.
The common denominator of the three of you is when I hurt my knee. I mean, that was a scary night when I hurt my knee playing pickleball. Can you believe that? Playing pickleball, I won every single match for an hour and a half.
Saving a kid from a bear. I got
don't say anything on camera.
With the Swiss Army knot. Yeah.
So I won every single match for an hour and a half, and I was up 10-2 playing with my wife. We were up 10-2. Last 10 minutes, I had to jump for that ball at the baseline and try to kill the ball. And I ended up hurting myself. But the common denominator
here.
here.
Doesn't sound like you at all.
Yeah, no, not me. I'm not very competitive. but the three of you were checking on my knee, how my knee was. That was very kind. You didn't have to. It was just a knee. It was just a knee injury playing pickleball. When I wasn't even trying to win, I'm already winning. So, but I appreciate that. And that's kindness, to pick up the phone and check on someone, Like, that's why I always check on you when you're in Philly, because I want to be kinder. I want to be more sensitive. I want to be more caring, because, okay, so when my daughter was very ill, we were in the hospital for 8 months. I mean, we were out for a few days here and there, but pretty much 8 months we lived in the hospital. What I realized is, when the diagnosis first hit and it's traumatic and tragic, people are all emotionally involved, and they feel bad for you, and and then people they check on you, they send you food and everything. That lasts maybe a week. When a disease lasts longer, as the days and months go by, fewer and fewer people care. And by the 8th month, only the people who really care would care.
Wow.
And I don't want to be like that.
That's exactly what happened.
That's why
me too, yeah.
I texted you before you went to Philly. I keep you in mind, and I pray for you. Keep things in mind.
Yeah, that's all. Well, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
No, but if we could all care a little bit more for each other, even people you don't really know, if just care a little bit more. There are people out there who are quietly suffering and don't say a word. Like this guy, he doesn't say anything. I didn't even know he was sick. There are people who just suffer quietly and don't say a word. If we just try to be a little bit more sensitive, because like we talked about this in one of our episodes, especially people who are depressed. Depression is such an awful thing. And the worst thing about depression is people who are depressed will not tell you that they're depressed. And the reason is, if I'm depressed and I go to you and I say, hey, Matt, I'm depressed, I need some encouragement, and you encourage me, it would mean nothing, because you're encouraging me because I asked you to encourage me. So people who are truly depressed want to feel that people care. The reason, I mean, obviously there are medical depression though, right? But I'm just talking about depression that are not, really a medical thing, but people who are depressed are feeling hopeless, and they feel that nobody cares. So if they have to come up to you and let you feel that, hey, I need some encouragement, then it means nothing to them. They still have not met that need to feel that people care, right? So I have this friend that I've known a long time ago. He lives a very happy life. He's single, and he just plays around. He seems happy and the ideal life and fun life. Single and just plays around. So a year ago, out of the blues, we have this guy is like very just happy, just want to just have fun kind of guy. And then, so one day, about a year ago, he just whispered to me and said, I just can't seem to find joy in anything that I do. In words along that line. He didn't say I'm depressed.
Yeah.
He just said I can't find joy in things that I do.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? He's not just depressed, he's very depressed. So mean, I try like every so often I would send him a random text just to say, how are you doing? How are you doing? Or you know, I want to connect with him, because there's a lot of people in this world who feel they have nobody to connect with. You know, I mean, connect doesn't have to be romantic. You know, it's connect. Connect means to be able to deal with someone and feel that somebody truly cares. And if we could all be just a little bit more caring and a little bit more forgiving and just be more considerate, then we can reduce the number of people who are depressed. You know, it's very sad. I mean, if you talk to somebody who's depressed, it's just very sad because they feel hopeless. And the suicide rate has gone up a lot. And so, like, one of you mentioned that earlier, that like if somebody, you say hi to somebody, you don't even know what they're going through. For all you know, they're about to commit suicide because they're feeling hopeless. And then, like, you talk to that lady in the car wash place. You never know. That person could have been, you know, at the edge of the ledge, and you saved him or her. You know.
Last text my buddy sent me before he killed himself last year was, "Hey man, have a good time tonight. On like a random Saturday, you know, just 10 o'clock in the morning." And you know, I've dealt a lot thinking about that this past year. Like, man, should I have caught that? Could that have been what you said it was? And you know, I've come to all those conclusions. Like, no, and you know, I've always tried to be better at being aware. We're just talking about the vision, you know. But to your point, you just never knew, you know. And I'm so glad that I responded back to him and said, you know, at least something back immediately, like, you know, thanks, hope you're doing well, or something like that. But you know, you just never know. So I mean, I think that's a good thing for tonight, and you know, you try to be your best, to be honest. You're not gonna get everybody, you know. I've thought a lot about that, because you obviously look back and go, man, I wish I would have said something or caught something, but you can't. But you can do your best, which is to respond, show up to people, do what you're gonna say you're gonna do, and be kind.
Yeah, but it's not about we don't have to do it in scales, you know. If you can only help one person,
right, do it.
That may be all that matters, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Like one of y'all said, that you help one. If they just help one, you're good. I mean,
yeah.
If you can help one person, you're doing your part, to me.
Right.
But if you can help numerous, then it's even more.
Yeah, that's why when I was talking to Kris, I said, I'm not sure how much you want to share, but, and I told you, right? You said you're nervous about doing this, but I said, if you could share your story, I mean, you inspired me. So if you could inspire somebody else, I mean, how many people out there, I mean, I'm a doctor, so I see all these sick people. How many people out there are experiencing major medical illness? And how many people there are feeling hopeless and scared? You know, if you could just tell your story and help lift somebody up, or make people feel, hey, this is worth fighting for, or this is not the end of things. I need to live my life, make the most out of it. You know, I mean, your story, what you just shared with us tonight, could have helped 1,000 people.
And that's the easy part.
But if you help one, if you help one person, it's worth the time doing this podcast. So,
well, to me, that's the easy part, because I know what I've been through and what, you know, we've gone through together. It's the easy part is me telling that. It's just, you know, I don't know, because I know it well, and I guess it'll always be fresh in my mind. You know?
Yes, absolutely.
But
God has a plan for everything, and like I said to you, I mean, I said this in my book when I wrote about my daughter's illness. We suffered a lot, but if you suffer with a purpose, then you're experiencing something, but you're not necessarily suffering, right? if you suffer without a purpose, or if you go through an experience, if you go through a negative experience without purpose, then you're suffering. Like the Buddhist people say, pain is unavoidable, suffering is optional. Right? Pain is unavoidable, suffering is optional. Suffering is a choice, whether you want to
Dwelling,
suffer or not.
yeah.
That's your story about the pain.
Yeah, but pain, we can't predict what's going to happen to us. We can't control what other people do to us, say to us. But whether you suffer or not, it's a choice you make. So,
Well, thank you guys for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
and thank
Thanks
you
for
to
inviting
our one
Our
audience,
director.
one person audience.
And yeah, we're just really grateful, and we hope that you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear it. Any feedback. If you want to reach out to these guys directly, please do. We'll set you guys up where they can. If someone wants to reach out, they can. So, thank you guys, and we'll see you next episode.
Oh, like, subscribe, and what? Like, subscribe, and share.
Share.